And he went on to say, the man is a legend. Treat him as such. First off, this is Charles Oakley. Why is he buying a ticket to the game? If I'm not mistaken, Dolan owned the team when he was playing, blah, blah, blah. I think Draymond Green has gone way too far here. Do you agree?
Well, my first takeaway is, let's just take James Dolan, Charles Oakley. This has been going on for a lot. What this is a business owner and an employee disagreement. By the way, Mark Cuban owns an NBA team. He was fired. Why? Because he didn't get along with the boss. We've all had this.
Yeah.
We've all worked at a company. You've worked at companies, teams, and the boss and you don't see eye to eye. So James Dolan's the owner. Charles Oakley was a well-compensated, very popular employee. The relationship ends, and now they don't get along. This happened 1,000 times today in America. Now, this is public, and Charles is beloved in New York. He's kind of that pit bull, the flagrant foul guy, and everybody loves him. But this is an owner and an employee disagreement that's gone public. And because Oakley is wildly popular among the fans and Dolan is hated, everybody's going to take shots at Dolan. It's the easy way. I would say, though, we're using certain terms too often, in my opinion. Like slave owner now is used constantly, and I think it's inappropriate here.
Listen, Charles Oakley is the bad guy in this situation, in my opinion. He bullied some security people. I get that James Dolan is a bad, crummy owner. I don't know if Charles Oakley is really that wildly popular. I think James Dolan is wildly unpopular, right, and almost anybody in this spot would be celebrated. But what really bothers me, and this is what I've been talking about for the last few days, the sense of entitlement is bothering me. He's a legend. How dare you treat a legend this way? They paid the man for services rendered. He decided to become a critic, a public critic of his former employer.
Right.
This is what happens. Mark Cuban and David Stern used to not get along. And David Stern would discipline and fine Mark Cuban. That wasn't a slave owner mistreating a billionaire owner. Listen, Charles Oakley made millions of dollars in the NBA. He used to work for a billionaire. They don't get along now. But Draymond's out of line.
The fact is this. Because of the racial history of this country and the current racism that we still see existing, whenever you have whites in power and blacks working for them, which is what you have in the NBA, this is going to be an analogy that's used. Don't act like blacks when we amongst ourselves don't call certain things the plantation and, we make references like this all the time. Now, I agree that comparing athletes making millions of dollars to slaves is not a perfect analogy by any stretch of the imagination. But I will also say what I saw on Sunday and what I saw Friday when those security guards treated Charles Oakley the way they didn't have to bum rush him, 8 of them. They didn't have to drag him out like that.
You've never been bum rush if you think that's a bum rush.
They had to drag him out like that. And then on Sunday, historically in this country, when whites in authority have been accused of racism or something like that, they'll trot out some blacks who are going to smile and speak on their behalf. And, he's not racist. He's good to us. I hate to say it because I love Sprewell and Larry Johnson, but that's what happened on Sunday. He trotted them out. They smiled.
The optics were terrible.
The optics look like this is now the mentality of a slave master.
But the problem saying this now, and we all want our athletes to be politicians. We want our athletes to have big, strong opinions. This is what happens. Most athletes, by the way, most sportscasters, this is why I talk football more than I do Trump. I try to stay in my lane and not get out in the weeds and stay in the fairway. If we want our athletes to talk, and I don't, if we want our athletes to be bon vivants, talk about politics and culinary and fashion, you get this clunky stuff that I think doesn't work.
I really think it's bad all the way around because look at me here. Dolan and Oakley shared an experience. The good thing about the NBA is the relationships. To go back and to touch somebody that you went to war with or you've been through something with somebody. After basketball, you don't have to like him, but as an individual, because he played for you, because he sacrificed himself, his body.
Right.
He sacrificed everything to play. So show him respect. don't handle him like that in front of the people.
But
Does he not have to show Dolan any respect?
Yeah, when he
He
fired
called him a
shots.
few names.
No. Does he not have to show Dolan any respect? Again, if you have made a man in your mind a millionaire and he decides to get publicly, you can privately criticize the Knicks. He publicly decided he's going to be an outspoken public critic of the Knicks. If, as an owner, if I was an outspoken public critic of Glen Big Baby Davis, I wouldn't be upset if you didn't want to be in my space, if you didn't want to be bothered with me. That would be understandable. James Dolan is a human being just like me, you, and everybody else. Chris, I want to make a point to you, and I get that in private, we say a lot of stupid things. I certainly do in my home, among my friends. I don't have to make everything that I say privately stupid. I don't have to do it publicly. I don't have a right. It's not fair
Some
for
people
me.
don't think those things are stupid.
That's
that
fine.
They say in private.
That's fine. I don't have a right to smear James Dolan, Colin Cowherd, or Chris Broussard publicly. Because again, the
Dolan smear Oakley?
slave mentality deal is a
Alcoholic,
smear.
he's an alcoholic, he needs help. That's not a smear?
First of all,
he didn't
it's
say
based
Charles
more
Dolan.
in truth than calling this man a slave
He didn't
owner.
say it was a slave owner. He said he was operating
Remember,
with a
Jason,
slave owner mentality.
We know how it lands. We know how it lands.
And it is a mentality.
You cutting hair.
Oakley didn't call James this.
No.
This is
Draymond Green,
Draymond
yeah.
jumping in. So in this instance, this is a bystander, okay? This is a drive-by. This is a, hey, you're a bad guy. You know, I don't like the term. I think there's a lot of terms used by media and players I'm just not constantly comfortable with. And we know what they are. This is one of those terms. I just think in this instance, this is what it's become in my world. It's that we want our athletes to comment on everything. That's now cool. In social media, if you're cool now if you have big, broad opinions on life beyond your sport. Let's be honest about this. Most people have a specialty, myself included.
Yep.
Once I get off the fairway,
Way off there on the ski.
my margins shrink. My level of knowledge shrinks. Athletes should primarily, and sportscasters, try to stay reasonably close to their lane. When they don't, this is what happens.
I want to make one final point, but we got to move to the next topic. Chris, as a public figure, I've seen, because of our beliefs, I've seen people smear and start throwing names, homophobic or this or that, and it's not fair or right. We just can't publicly smear people just because we have a disagreement with them. Again, you can have all kinds of thoughts in private, but just randomly tossing out, calling this guy slave mentality, and you know how it's gonna land. It's happened to you, it's happened to me, it's happened to a lot of public figures. It's unfair.